share my screen for that, if it's okay, because I want to put some memories into perspective to tell my story and my message to others, and the themes that you asked me to put forward. I want to connect all of them in one story from the memories that I have. And this background that I have put here is from where my parents originally they belong, in Pakistan and Pakhtunkhwa. And mountains are my thing. I know in Australia a lot of people get inspired by beaches. I do like them, but uh, I prefer mountains, climbing up. So my theme will be around what I'm presenting here. So let me get the presentation. You can tell me if you can see the presentation. Can you see? Okay,
Yes,
thank you.
we can see.
So just like Judy gave the introduction, I'm a senior lecturer at Deakin University, but I wear multiple hats and do a lot of other things as well. I am involved with science and technology with two different roles. One is the program called Superstars of STEM. I will talk a bit about it later. And another one is I'm the member of the Equity, Diversity and Inclusion Committee, which in science sector and technology sector at the moment, the picture is not really good. I was the ambassador of Google Go for IT for Victorian State Government Initiative for 2020. And I am also an honorary adjunct at University of Technology, Sydney, from where I had my PhD. So the theme of the story will be Dream Big and Dream Bold. So here's me, 2 years old. And I was born in Pakistan in the capital Islamabad, but my parents are from the northwest of country, which is close to the border of Afghanistan, and a very patriarchal culture there. My mother was not allowed to go to school. She didn't even have the primary school education. My father, on the other hand, in 60s was allowed to go to USA, and the world is open if you are a man in that culture. But for a woman, there were already defined roles and restrictions and what you can do in your life. And I think before I was born, my parents moved to the capital, Islamabad in Pakistan. And that's, I think, changed everything for who I am today. First of all, I grew up away from that culture that would limit my access to education. Secondly, watching my mother and all the women in our family in her generation being denied that access was something that sparked this fire in me, that given the opportunity, I have to take best advantage of that. And third, that I'm the youngest and the only female child. I have four elder brothers, so you can see that I thrive in all male environment. And that's something that impacted my choice of profession later in my life. So here's me, 10 years old. I just came back from my school. I was showing my father another picture of me receiving the award in my school for being the top in my class. And he froze this moment in time for me. And this is around the time when he tried to impress upon me that unlike my brothers, my education was a privilege, never to be taken for granted. And that's the time when I started realize that what it meant to be denied of this I would call it a human right, because the whole point was of control. The women should, if they get educated, they will have control of their finances, they will have control of their lives. Something that I could see already, that what kind of ramification that was having on the women all around me. So I made a decision later in my life. First of all, I moved into the male dominated field, and till then things were moving okay. There were some raised eyebrows here and there, but the main thing that I think was the most controversial was coming to Australia on my own without any male chaperone or any other husband that gets arranged for the women in our part of the world when they want to leave the country. And I think around this time, I realized that being a woman, how many difficulties you have to face when you make this kind of decision. Uh, in the end, my parents' support was there, but there was a huge problem that I was facing, that I did not know a single person in Australia. Uh, I didn't have any family and not even a single friend. And I was taking a huge risk, I would say, coming here as an international student to pursue a PhD in software engineering at University of Technology, Sydney. Literally had no idea what I was doing, but I was determined that I will focus on my education and I will move on with it. So the sense of purpose was there, but uncertainty, and there was a huge risk that was involved there. And then finally, within 2.5 years, I got my PhD, and the day that I always remember as breaking of my concrete ceiling, because I am the only female in my entire family who have surpassed this level, and in within the field that not only in Pakistan but in Australia has the worst of gender disparity, the software engineering. So there was a moment after my PhD where I had no idea what to do with my life now, because that passion that was driving me to get to this point was finally, you get there and then you think about it, what to do next. So there was a phase that I call as life after PhD. And first was that I was offered a continuing position of a lecturer at Swinburne University of Technology. And that was the point when I had to move from Sydney to Melbourne. Again, it was like starting from zero, not knowing a single person in Melbourne. But this time it wasn't as difficult as when I was moving from Pakistan to Sydney. Then in 2019, while still being early career researcher, I was offered senior lectureship from Deakin University, where currently I am still am here. And the new vision and the sense of purpose that I wanted to have beside just having a profession, or I didn't just want it to be a teacher and a researcher, but there was something else because my personality was driven by the passion before diversity and inclusion and the advocacy for women in STEM. And I participated in quite a number of initiatives, going out of my way for doing things. And that involved not only brought some really good sense of purpose, but also it was rewarding in many ways. I participated and I was given awards and recognition, which was very fulfilling, providing me with the platform to inspire other girls and share my story of that it's not impossible. Majority of the women who come from my part of the world speaking the same language and coming from the same ethnic background, they usually come on spouse visa. They don't come on their own, thinking that they would not be able to be appreciated or given a platform here. So it became more of a, I would say, journey about inspiring them to show them there is a different life that is possible for them as well. If they take courage, they get the courage to take a step. And the journey continued. I had, within software engineering, I started my new adventure around the diversity inclusion, which was within the technology now. I mean, a lot of you lawyers and other people, you go and, face it within the real society, but within the cyberspace, the lack of diversity and the implications that we could see that it was going to bring into the future was horrendous, and not much has been done so far in terms of ethical frameworks or the laws or the policies around that. And this is where I started writing about it and started to raise the voice that this is something that the people who were within the technology sector, they have to focus on this direction. So this is currently my research area, that how to bring the fairness in artificially intelligent system that will not be racist or sexist. And then 2018 came and I became one of the superstars of STEM for Science and Technology Australia, a huge privilege that was given by the organization in order to improve the visibility of female scientists and create role models, and thinking that I started my journey from Pakistan not knowing that whether I will be able to achieve something, and coming to the point that I was presented as a role model to the women in Australia. This was quite a huge honor. And this was around the time that I started getting the training on how to interact with politicians and policymakers, because being a scientist, we have a very different environment where we operate. And at that time, I would say that I didn't know who was the prime minister and who is the minister. And this awareness was coming about Australia by the time that I was a lecturer. So during my entire life as an international student, there was not much sense of belongingness, and I never tried hard as well, because I sometimes, somewhere in the back of my mind, it was that maybe I will finish PhD, I may not find a job here, and I may have to go back to my country. This was the Superstar of STEM program was a turning point where I started to know more about Australia, who the people are. I may not know the whole background, but then I started to put the names to the faces, and I started recognizing, and then people will tell me the background as well. So, and then last year, of course, this was the one of the most emotional moment that I had, and an honor that I cannot describe that what it felt like. That was the moment when I was sharing my story on the stage, and I had to hold back my tears of thinking about the time when I came to Australia with my brother. He left me here after a week to settle me down, and then he was going back. And I tried my best to pretend to be as brave for him, to show him that I can do it and I'm stronger than uh, anything to deal with it. And he left, and I literally broke down and cried because I thought I made a mistake coming to Australia on my own. And last year's award brought back that memory for me that sometimes you think that you can't do it, but you have it in you. You won't be able to do it unless you actually try it. If I had shown weakness and gone back, none of all this wonderful, these were memories that I have now in my album. I would not ever have these memories available to me. So now, when I show all these pictures, they're all available on different stories and the media appearances that I have. I always ask people, do you see what's missing here? And the answer is my resume of failures. On social media and everywhere, I would put what awards I have won, what brilliant things are happening. We don't post about rejections, we don't post about what went wrong. And believe me, a lot has went wrong, and I have made a lot of mistakes in the background. So what you see is the tip of the iceberg, which we call success, but all the hard work, the tears, the cries, the failures, they're all in the background, and I know about them. So I usually, whenever someone asks me, how did you do it? I tell them, you have to look at the bigger picture and the whole picture. You are just looking at the contents that I have put on my resume or my LinkedIn or my social media. So don't get diverted or distracted by the fact that I'm not putting all the negative things that that didn't go well in my life. And then comes the important question: success. Who defines success? Is it my own definition of success, or is it the one that the society is going to put for me? So my understanding of success may not be the same as yours. Some people get inspired by the fame or money or a job security. For some, it's the happiness that they get with very small things. So we cannot compare our stories, our success in that way to each other unless we know what success is for all of us. This one of the research that I did, and I won an award for it because we were talking about in changing a paradigm in teaching, uh, and this is something to do with the mistakes and the failures that I'm talking about. And this paradigm advocates that we can use the failures and mistake and bad decisions as learning opportunities. We call it corrective feedback learning. I used it in one of my classrooms, and we collected the data and we tried to analyze. And this made me think about my whole life, that all our life we have this negative psychological association of failure with all the bad feelings that we get. We get as Asians, and I think we all would know that what having bad grades in the class would mean by our parents, our family, extended family, all of them have something to say about it. So why do we have this negative association with it? Why not we use it as a learning opportunity, remove the negativity, and give a sense that you can learn from it and you can move forward. And maybe in the second or third attempt, you will get it there. The repeated activity by learning the lessons. Okay, if someone is not ready to learn the lessons, that's a different story. But take the failure or mistake as an opportunity to learn. And I'm going to just share some of the tips which already Lyma and Tuanh has said, and I'm going to iterate them with my love for mountains. So first of all, know yourself to lead yourself. You have to be your own leader first. You cannot lead other people unless you lead yourself. And to lead yourself, you have to know your strengths, your weaknesses, what do you want, and why do you want. This requires some reflection upon your own strengths and upon your own self. Secondly, be fearless, take a chance. Just like I said, that was a huge, huge leap of faith coming to Australia. Things could have gone wrong in 100 ways, but I did take a chance, and it it's not like it was easy, but it was worth it. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable, as Lima said, because none of this growth is going to happen if you just stay in your comfort zone. You have to get out of it. You sometimes have to go out of your way to learn how to be resilient. If you just stay in your comfort zone, that's not going to happen. And it's up to you how far and how hard you're going to work before you get what you want. If you surrender on the first instance or second instance, surrendering is not getting. So it's up to you how hard you are going to do it. And in that process, you will build the resilience against the failure as well. Be strong. Sometimes you have to walk alone. Don't fear the loneliness that I learned being an international student, not having a family or a friend in Australia. I've learned more things about myself and who I am and what I want. When you are disconnected, this is an opportunity. And during the lockdown, I used to tell all my friends and everyone that take it as an opportunity to learn about yourself, because with all the noise and crowd around you, you don't get that kind of opportunity. Learn to enjoy your company as well. If you won't do that, other people won't enjoy your company as well. And learn your power of authenticity in the moment of solitude. Be adventurous. It's the journey in the end that transforms you, not the destination. What I have learned so far is that, yes, I did get the PhD, I did get other things that I wanted, but it was not actually the end. It was the whole process of going through everything that made me get to the end, was something that is in my memory, and that's what transformational for me. And it's okay to ask for help when you can't do it. You have to find your mentors, you have to find your network. Everyone will be your champion. Find the right people who believe in you the way you want them to help you. And in the end, it will all be worth it. There will be bumps, there will be problems, there will be issues, but once you get to the top and you get to see down on the world, the bird eye view that you get from the top is very mesmerizing, and it takes you to the zone. I don't know if you like the mountains the way I do, but that's absolutely worth it. So thank you so much. And I will take, I think, questions after the final talk.
Thank you so much, Muneera.